Today's shave is with the Omega. It's a big guy. And this is the 10098, I believe. And I have put an O-ring on it because this guy's long. I wanted to bring him in just a little bit, rein him in just a little bit. I've had him soaking. I had to get a taller cup because of the length of these bristles. This is my 110th shave with my Nacet blade. 50 dots on that side. $59 dots on that side. It almost looks like that last column is as tall as the other one, but if you count, it's just 4. So we're gonna top this guy at 110. I mean, mark him up to 110. We're gonna keep going. I may just keep going with him to get to 120. Who knows? Haven't decided yet. The soap we're going to use today is Lonestar from Noble Otter. I wanted a good soap for this milestone, and I know this soap base is excellent. The scent is wonderful on this soap. We'll talk more about that in a minute. The razor, as usual for this age of my blade, is the Gillette Sheraton open comb, twist to open razor. A vintage, almost 80 years old or something like that, I believe. All right. I think we're ready to go. First thing I'm going to do is splash some water on my face. All right, so this soap, it's a used soap. This will be my first time trying this scent. I have experience with this base, and it's very, very nice. I'm really happy to have received this in a lot purchase from a guy who was getting rid of just several that were just right up my alley. It was very, very cool how many in that box were some that I would really enjoy. You don't often get that luxury. All right, so this brush has been soaking for maybe an hour, maybe 45 minutes, something like that. I'm trying to accelerate my boar's break-in by kind of long soaks before each shave, and then a couple of days of non-use to let them dry out and let those tips split. I'm going to shake most of the water out of the brush. You know what? That's a little too much. I'm going to kind of reload the brush with water. I'm just going to kind of do this kind of shake instead of my end of shave shake. All right, so we got some water in there. This is a monster. All right, let's do a 30-second load, and we'll start at the 5 mark. So we'll stop at 35. Just kind of medium pressure on the soap, just a little bit to splay it. 10 more seconds. 3 and done. All right, so that's how much soap we were able to get. I'm sure it'll be enough. Rinse off the threads of the tub. Set it aside. All right. Everything else is a go. So, lather bowl as usual. And I haven't reminded you guys in a while. For you regular viewers, you'll probably know, but if you're new, YouTube does have a speed option on videos. Hover over the video, there should be a gear icon for settings and options, and just press click that, and there should be a speed selection, speed option. You can change that to 1.5, which is about as fast as you can go and still be able to understand the words people are saying, and that means 1.5 times the normal play speed. 1.2 or something like that is also there. And so that way you can still listen. And in case I say something that you might want to hear, you'll still hear it, but it'll save you a little bit of time if you don't want to watch this happen live, and that is all right. Look how dry this lather is. It's rigid. It's not moving on the brush, you know, but in just a kind of a rigid way there. Keeping its shape. So we've mixed that up a little bit. So let's start adding water. And so we'll start with, this holds 2 teaspoons. I'll go ahead and shoot 1 teaspoon in there. This bowl does have ridges on the bottom of it. And that helps to generate lather a little quicker. A Cool Whip bowl is about the same dimensions as this, and it generates a great lather. So, I also have a Dollar Tree bowl that's about the same dimensions as this that I really enjoy as well. Use that for quite a while. So the scents in the profile of this soap, up front are lemon and sage, it says. The sage does not come out in the dry, when you're smelling the dry tub, but it's starting to come out a little bit more here as it's wet. And I don't really like sage all that much, and so hopefully it kind of stays muted. Another half teaspoon there. Some really interesting combinations in here. You've got cool guy things like Texas cedar, maybe sage might fall in that category, leather, hay. And then you've got girly things like magnolia, oak moss. I think oak moss might be in that category. To be honest, I'm sorry, I'm not sure. There's also lemon. And there we go. I think I've mentioned all the main notes. And it's really cool how they work together. At least it was with a dry soap. Now this is different because while it's wet here, different things are coming out. I can smell the sage more. I can definitely pick up the citrus of the lemon. So 2 teaspoons of water are now in it. I think I pick up the oak moss. The leather is nice. Yeah, that's a good one. Oh, and the cedar. Yeah, the leather and the cedar work really well together. I like that. So, to me, it just seems like a really nice balance of scents. And I'm going to bet I wouldn't have been able to pull out too many of these notes if I hadn't have looked them up. Okay, this lather looks pretty good. Do a little finger test. Oh, that's plenty thick. Creamy. I can still feel a little bit of the ridges on my fingerprints. We'll just roll with that. See if that's going to be good. Consistency. And now is when I will put a second layer of water on my face. Hydrate those whiskers. All right. Hopefully the brush will have lost some of its prickle. It's been that way lately, but that's okay because it's new. About the same, I think. So we'll keep giving it some time and uses. Wait for those tips to split. Boars need to be soaked ahead of time. Sit in some water for a little while. I usually do mine when I'm not trying to do some weird break-in thing. I just 3 or 4 minutes generally. Seems to do really well. Most of the time that is all that's needed because I'm doing it in prep work and stuff while the brush soaks. All right, 110th shave with this Nacet. Not really tugging, but I do feel the cutting and all that, you know. Feels like it's doing a pretty good job. Yeah. Yeah, I like this scent. Very available during the shave. Not quite a 24-hour growth, a little shorter than usual. All right. Comfortable enough. No pulling, no irritation or tugging or anything like that. All right, gonna rinse. All right, nice and comfy, creamy, smooth lather here. Very nice. Looks terrific. Okay, cross grain now. This is a cross grain pattern here because my neck hairs go this way. Cold water. Your razor head is changing from lukewarm to cold. Sometimes very soothing and also helps with inflammation. All right, rinse. Now that second pass was a little on the thin side. I still got great slickness as I rinsed. Happy with it, but I removed any extra water on my neck with a towel just to bring this guy back to a little bit thicker instead of having some water on the neck to dilute it. That's just a good scent. And I may not like sage all that much, but the leather and the woodiness, the cedar, are really making it an attractive part of the puzzle, part of the profile. I can see why they brought this out to the market. It's really neat. Not a whole lot of other scents like it in this area. far as the pattern goes, I mean, I kind of make that be something different. I do each day. It just kind of depends on what I'm feeling like. I bet some of the patterns are repeated. It would be hard to always make it unique, and besides, sometimes making stuff unique is more work. When I just gently pull my neck skin over, felt a little twinge right there. I wonder if I dug a little too close to the surface, pressed a little too hard right around here, or maybe I just nicked that little mole right there. Who knows? We'll see. All right. And so I believe that's the third pass. Let's check it out. Some little area right here, trouble spot. Still got a few tips that I want to see if I can get. See how successful that'll be. Cheeks are done, so we'll leave them alone. And this is my even when I have a young blade. A lot of times I do have to do this, my fourth pass, as a neck only half pass. And it looks like my soap use was pretty perfect. A little bit extra in there in case I would have made some kind of mistake or something. And, you know, probably a whole pass here on the brush if I needed there to be. So this brush is still prickly, so it's got some room to grow. Now that felt a little irritated right there, a little tender. Maybe when I cut it while it was kind of pulled over, I overstretched. You don't want to do that. I've had plenty of times where I went in to get those tricky hairs, ended up stirring up some irritation and not really improving the result at all. All right, I think I did pretty well there. Can't go against the grain, so I have to rely on cross grain. And let's say my hair's growing this way, and so if I am cross grain, then that would be like a 90 degrees coming from the top there or from the bottom. Now you can start to come at it some different diagonals like that, but if your diagonals come this way, even like maybe here's 90 degrees, if you tilt it over and come this way a little bit, you have a little tiny aspect there that is against the grain. And so sometimes that doesn't aggravate me as much. So sometimes that's a technique where I can get a better shave. All right, rinse. So I told you when this area was a little tender as I was shaving, but right now I can touch it and it's just fine. So that may have been the skin telling me that it was tender and not without the razor actually making it worse. So that's cool. I'm happy with that. I feel probably that initial twinge I felt earlier. So just a tiny bit of irritation. It's not a big deal at all. And now that I've toweled this area, let's see the result. Wow, I can't really see any length on any tips. I do see some tips. So that is above average for me. 110 uses, and this blade still cuts above average when compared to, you know, just a whole bunch of other blades. I'm not saying that Nacet is the blade to take you this far. Your skin is different than mine. I'm also not saying that a Sheraton is the only way to do it either. Just for me right now, with my collection of razors, I've eliminated every other razor that I have pretty much in favor of this one. This just beats them all right now at this age of the blade, and I don't expect anybody to dethrone it because I do revisit them occasionally, and this one just, the geometry just matches my face better, and that's just all there is to it. And I happen to have one of these. I tell you what, I would not be at 110 uses if all I had were mild razors. or even some mid-aggressive razors. That's just the way it goes. However, this I would classify as a mid because of just the geometry. It's a smooth shaver, even with a young, fresh, ultra-sharp blade that hasn't been smoothed out by age and use. This still will cut me really well. The Fatip Piccolo with the grande head, the open comb head, is a great smooth shaver for me too. And it was a wonderful shaver till about, what, maybe 95 or something like that. 90, I can't remember quite. But it was just tremendous, whether it was a young blade or a very old blade. They just happened to be just the right geometry for me. And when I say geometry, I'm talking about, how far do the open combs here, how far do they stick out? How far are they recessed compared to the blade edge? How close, how clamped down is the blade edge? With this one, you can see that it's being clamped down pretty close to the open comb here. There's not like a gap underneath it. Some other razors will change the gap by raising or lowering the head that has the blade attached to it. This is not one of those. Where is the top cap when you're talking geometry again? Where's the top cap? How far does it come? What kind of arc or curve is the blade put on? Is it pretty flat? Is it pretty flexed? Those are all parts when I say geometry. That's what I mean. And so that's it. Really good. And a neat little thing that I've done this whole time is there's the X. I have always shaved with the X face down. I'm not even flipping the blade over. Generally, the advice for new guys, new shavers, I'm putting this over on my cloth here and just kind of going to lay. I'm putting the blade over there. Just kind of dab it a little bit with my washcloth to start that drying. General advice is that you don't need to flip your blades like every other time or whatever. It's just not necessary because it's the same edge. And so if the same edge gets dull, then it doesn't matter which way you flip it. So don't worry about that. But I'm curious, once I get to the end of this blade's life and I'm ready to turn it in, I'm going to flip the blade over and see if I get any difference in shaves. And I thought that might be a good test, a good data set to have. We'll see. Be fun. All right. Let's see what I have for post shave. All right. I haven't used one of these little tubs in a while. Chatillon Luxe, if I'm pronouncing the first part right. This is Gratiot League Square. And it's a salve. And so I'm just going to take a little bit of it. This may be too much. I'm often guilty of using too little of this. And so I'm just going to let my body heat melt it, rub it between my fingertips. It's easy to rub it in your palm, and that I think is the official directions, but if I rub it in my palm, I can't get it on my face because my palm is concave and it's just a lot harder. And so I just choose to keep it on my fingers, and that really, and it's starting to kind of melt there. And then right before it all disappears, this is probably got some common elements in with what the soap I used, but it's kind of different, and I just felt like using it. I don't use it a lot. It was kind of in the back of the drawer, if you will, and not because I don't like it. It's just, I don't know, just kind of ended up that way. And this salve is just terrific at moisturizing. As far as I know, I've got an oily face, so you may want to check with somebody else if you have really dry skin and you need to make sure that you get a good product. But the scents from that company, the Chatillon Luxe, are just top notch. They really are. And you don't really need to use up very much of this stuff per shave, so this little pot can go a long way. And if you can see in the back, there's some yellow liquid So sometimes it does separate. That's just the nature of the beast. I think he's reformulated with some new stuff where it doesn't separate. Just get a little toothpick or something like that and just stir it in, reconstitute it, and you're fine. Absolutely fine. I know this got shipped to me, and it was both of the tubs that I have were very separated, and so it just is not a problem to redo it. Yeah, that's a good scent. Looks like I'm smelling my armpits, right? Saturday Night Live days of yore. Yeah, that's an enjoyable scent. I like both of these guys. So I was very happy with the strength of Noble Otter Lonestar during the shave. It had a good scent strength to me. I'd say a solid 4 out of 10. It was nicely present during the shave. It wasn't strong at all, but it was present, and so it let me be a part of it. And if it's going to take me somewhere, then it's there to do it. So I enjoyed that part. So well done with that scent profile. I really like that. Magnolia and florally things, I think they're a great part of a good profile. I don't like them when they're dominant, but this is a perfect use of it just to come in and help out and soften up or just add whatever they do. I'm not good enough to know what they do. But interesting, see, the lemon is not super strong in this. It's not distinct and different and pungent. And I'm really glad about that. I don't want another lemon scent. There are tons of them out there. And so it just blends in with the other stuff. Everything's working really well together. Really happy with this soap mix. I'm glad I was able to pick up this used tub. Sheraton, doing great. Like I said, the blade was nice. It did take, a little bit more buffing, but big deal. This soap also was very helpful in protecting my skin during that buffing. I don't feel any irritation right now at all. Let's see, if I touch this guy here, which was one of the main things, no, I don't feel anything anymore at all. We're good. Very cool. The brush, a little prickly, still a little prickly. It's got some ways to go, but we'll keep working him down. And there we go. There we go. Excellent. I'll go ahead and clean up, then final words. So this guy did splay a little bit more on the previous shave, but I added the O-ring. And so we've brought the hairs together a little bit more. And so in a sense, in terms of splay, might be thought of as kind of starting over. But we're still working those tips. Some of them have split, and we're waiting on the rest to do it too. And it might take a while. Who knows? So as far as the other, I think I really like the O-ring being here, and I think it felt a little bit, sometimes if the bristles are too long, then when you move around, the center of the bristle there won't really move all that much. But with the O-ring, I think it helped a little bit. We'll keep trying it for a while. Who knows? You can add as many O-rings as you want. I could add another one and just see what happens. So, and of course the handle continues to just be enjoyable for my big hands. One of my common grips is something like this, and this is great when I'm mixing the lather, because sometimes when you have the knob type death grip like this, that can get a little tedious. So switch like this, it gives good wrist action, and it gives something. I alternate back and forth between the two grips. And then of course this normal knob type or pencil pointy grip is perfect for doing the face. So happy with this boar. And the 30-second load turned out to be perfect. You saw what the soap we had at the end. Not all that much, just a little bit extra. And it was the full 2 teaspoons of water that was added to it. So that's the recipe. Also, that's the recipe if you have a prickly boar that is similar to this one. If you have a very old boar that's really worn in, its tips are going to be softer. Maybe that's going to affect the load. So just because I say 30 seconds, I'm just giving you a ballpark, some point of reference, because you think of what brush I'm using and maybe your brush could be different. If your brush is a lot more scritchy than that, then maybe you only need 20 seconds of loading. If it's really super smooth and maybe smaller, then you may need more loading time. All right, use number 110 is now in the books, and happy about that. Pretty cool little landmark. Let's just push to 120. I don't know if I'll do it consecutively, but who knows? Maybe I will. Pretty cool. The thing about it consecutively, when I'm at this point with the age, I have to keep using the more aggressive razors, and I've got more mild ones that I just really enjoy. So that's the reason I would switch back to another blade without doing consecutive runs. But who knows? It's just 10 days, right? 10 more days and then hit 120. We'll see. So this balm, this salve from Chatillon Luxe is a strong scent. It overwhelms pretty much any soap that you've just used. And as long as you like the scent, then you're a happy camper. I'm going to say it's like a 6 or a 7 out of 10 in terms of scent strength. I can just smell it no matter where I go, and I really enjoy this for now. It'll last a little while. About to hit the sack. So there we go. Face feels great. Shave looks great. Nice result. Nice closeness. And using a piece of history to boot. With new soap bases, things like that. It's a fun little hobby. I hope there was something here for you. Take care. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves. Good night.